things. I mean, a lot of people will argue that there are other illnesses that are taking Nigerians perhaps a lot more slowly, and if they had received medical attention on time, it possibly would not have been bad as it is. But let's even leave that aside. The NMA is made up of doctors in both government and private sector. Is that correct? Sure. So it also means that doctors in the private sector are also with you on your demands, but they are not on strike, are they?
That doesn't. You see, in fact, I think. Thank you for, jump-starting my thoughts. In fact, is one avenue that has been left open. You agree with me that if the private hospitals are shut down, because people have brought the idea, okay, that let's make this. Then others have said, look, let the avenue just be there.
To shut down the private hospitals?
You see, people could become very emotional. But that is an avenue that's been left. And people, of course, but I even know a lot of private hospitals, I know people that have, okay, these people cannot afford, the private hospital may even be more expensive. Some have been so humanitarian that, they take these patients sometimes and, consider their billing and all that. These are some form of sensitivity of the enemy, because the people in the private sector are also an integral part of the enemy. So to me, of course, that's a plus.
So does it mean that what you demand has a direct effect on the private hospitals?
It's not a question of effect. They are members of the enemy.
Now, if they were to shut down the private hospitals, what would be the intention?
The intention? They are also members. Just understand that we are all members of this association. It doesn't mean that something will apply to everybody before, you comply with the directive.
Let me just quickly read this. Part of the earlier response of the minister while all of this was going on. One of the texts out there is that, this quotes, it says, it should be stressed that the federal government has implemented more than 90% of its responsibilities as signed by both parties. At the conclusion of each meeting, the NMA promised to call off the strike, but will return another day to say they could not.
You see, I have a very simple answer for that. I've told you, you look at who are these doctors. They are not just a group of people that can act at random. If somebody have met 80% of your demand, we have senior citizens of this society in the enemy. And the fact that we have a doctor, talk less of the older ones, the professors, it's not just possible to say you have met 90% of demand. It doesn't, I don't know, it just does not appear to make any sense that no, then you go back. You see, what is been happening so far, I will just tell you, some of the methods that government use during negotiation. We have seen it. Look at the ASU saga. Even this doctor strike that is going on, there have been agreements that we're going to do this. The same thing. It's always the same thing when you take any other union. So it's not alien to us. We know these antics. So when you go to the negotiation table, somebody uses a circular on one plain A4 paper.
So what was it you wanted to be done differently this time?
To have clear-cut, approach, an agreement. Look, agreed. There are some of these things that, may not, you will have frameworks to achieve them. That is not even, you are not talking of in the immediate. But you make statements, you say you have circulars. I'm telling you one now. The circular that is, this circular that just came out now is properly transmitted on letterheaded paper, maybe transmitted to the person that's signed by the minister. But you are coming to give me, even a circular that you mean well, maybe, is on a plain paper, not on a letterheaded paper. These are things you can verify.
Yeah, but why would they
accept that? If it's like coming to me, you need a medical report to travel abroad, to go out to another hospital. It should be on my letterheaded paper, signed Dr. Ojo, obstetrician and gynecologist.
Okay, so does it mean
that on a flimsy paper?
So does it mean that when they say that they have signed the agreement to the point of it's getting to 90%. The NMA did not sign that agreement. Is that what you're saying?
No, there is no such signing of agreement. The NMA, you see, you don't.
You're questioning
When you are when you are negotiating, all this idea of the negotiating team goes to government, and they only come back to the delegates meeting. They didn't want power to tell government that they are calling. So these are constitutional things in the NMA.
Dr. Joe, we're almost out of time, if not completely out of time.
Go.
Are you saying, I mean, what you seem to be saying is that you do not trust the government, even when it says that we have reached certain agreements and we have said that we're going to do certain things? You're citing a lack of trust. Is that what you're saying?
Lack of trust has always been there. That's one thing clearly. I've even gone outside the NMA. Okay? Why did ASU insist during their last strike? Because the new government will always renege on the agreements. But I'm even telling you about the quality of what they are pushing to us. There is a way I will show you something. Okay? You see, the world have transcended some of this petty deceit. It's just like in those days, if our father says, oh, I'll give you this, you just put it by your back. You say, oh, thank you, I'll be quiet. If you tell your child now that I'm going to give you, say that, let me sit first. If you want to, you see, we're past this petty, when people bring something to the table, you agree with me that the position and attitude of government over the years give no room for trust. So the first rule of engagement in the first place is mutual distrust. So that one doesn't even come in. So you have to show me concretely that you are committed.
Okay, but look at this. They say, because part of, maybe I didn't emphasize this properly. Here, at that time, it says government has implemented more than 90% of its responsibilities as signed. Now, this has even gone beyond trying to agree and sign. He says, as signed, they've implemented more than 90.
That doesn't hold water.
Okay, let me read the second part. And now says, quote, for the whole of July 2014, these doctors did not work, yet government, owing to the emergency situation in the country, paid them the July salaries with allowances such as call duty allowance, teaching allowance, hazard allowance, etc., believing that this magnanimity of government would appeal to the enemy to call off the strike.
I think that's their own thought. And it's just basic blackmail.
Oh, wait, you did not get your July salary?
I'm not saying the salaries were not paid, but that
Did you get it with all the allowances you mentioned?
Well, it was paid. Salaries were paid.
So you got it?
That's exactly
Did you work for it?
You see, these questions will not help us. They do work for it. You see, we're talking of, engagements that occur based on, in the first place, disagreements. You understand? So one person will bear the brunt of that. When we even believe in the first place that all this is making of a government that is not sensitive. It's not only to doctors, generally. So if we continue to argue on this pedestal, we won't get anywhere.
So how long?
But rather than to appeal to well-meaning Nigerians to prevail on this government to do the needful.
How long do you intend to stay on this strike? Assuming government refuses to budge, the strike continues indefinitely?
Well, it appears that the strike is continuing, but no responsible person, whether individual, collective, or government, we want that. We should not go to that level of rhetoric. We must look at the plight of the people. Are you telling me that this measure that government have taken to sack 16,000 doctors will help in any way?
Maybe we should respond to this comment as well from Henry. He says, well, if you have an employee that demands more than you can pay and insists you must pay him, what do you do?
And again, we should clear the air and look at what the doctors are asking for. In the course of this discourse, I've tried to highlight a few of these. Please let it be known that doctors are not going on strike basically for pay rise. They are not. So that is, you can see that wrong perception. And it is an opportunity to just clear that. All right? So we have all these, I've highlighted a few of them to you. We have talked about restructuring of the postgraduate training to have quality residents. we have talked about expediting the National Health Bill to target 100% health coverage for Nigerians. You understand my point? These are even things that border on, the generality of our people.
You're asking
so
government.
it is not a question of, it is not basically saying increase,
Dr. Ojo, you're asking well-meaning people to prevail on government. What if you have lost the support of well-meaning people?
I don't think so. You see, every nation go through a process of, you want to use the word revolution, it doesn't mean war really. One of rebirth, you understand? And I won't agree with you. Fine, it's not as if we have clear-cut statistics. I was speaking to a group of people, they said, Doctor, the public, and I said, what's the definition of who is the public? Am I not part of the public? Okay, it depends on what you're talking about.